Okay, so we are now on the December Deadlock number 5 map, which again comes from our December tournament. We're going to see some. This was one where Yates, in actual fact, lost to Tees. As he actually says in chat there, I'm claiming that I knew that before he said it. This one was one decided primarily by a commander confrontation in the center. And we're going to see both players here spawning, one at the north, I think, and one down at the South Pole. It's going to be some fairly aggressive play, and I think there'll be a lot of confrontations here in this middle section. Okay, so we are going into game 2 here of King of the Planet 12 between King Eladea, the undefeated champion of this tournament, and Yates, who is currently number 2 on the Uber ladder. Thus far, it's a 1-0 score to Eladea. Took the first game on a map of Yates' choice. Yates, as the loser, gets to choose the second map, and has chosen another map from the December Deadlock tournament back in, unsurprisingly, December. So, we see the two of them spawn in now. Yates going for a opening bot factory, and Eladea also going for an opening bot factory, and I think we're going to see some fairly aggressive play here. As both players move as quickly as possible towards one another, try and leverage the short space between them. I don't think we're going to see too big a change to opening builds from last time. Perhaps both players take an opportunity to refine them slightly. Eladea, again, going slightly off standard build, going straight into a second factory without building the power first. For this build, what we've normally been seeing is the first factory, metal, couple of power into another factory, and it then tends to vary up from there. We've just had disconnect from Yates, so we'll just wait for him to get back into this game before we continue. But you'll see here that Yates going for an early bot into a number of vehicle factories, very similar to how he played against Matisse actually, and Eladea going for a third air factory. And this might be interesting to see, because Yates lost. One of the reasons Yates lost against Matisse is that Matisse went for, as well as the commander confrontation in the center, Matisse went for a heavy air presence on this map, and Yates did not counter it. Coming in with spinners, but he never had enough, and it was far too late. Now, since then, bombers have been rebalanced. They play rather differently from how they used to. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out now, and whether or not that air advantage is going to be as significant as it was back then. But it does look like Yates is going to be committing to mass vehicles, and therefore I expect to see strong pushes down the centre, nothing too fancy. Eladea might be making some more flanking attacks then. This map contributed to us by Exodus's Captain Conundrum, a rather late entry to the December Deadlock tournament, but a rather successful one, leading to some of the more interesting games of that tournament. So I have high hopes for what this game is going to look like. We see here two Fabbers start, going into third Fabber here with the initial scouting docks, nothing too unusual. Then going for a much heavier docks push. Yates is going to have to probably go out with his commander to do anything about that. This could put Eladea in quite a good position actually early on to try and take out the Fabbers of Yates. I don't think he's going to have to be pumping out these docks pretty quickly now. He's going for tanks as well, so that might give him the range to pick off these initial scouting docks. Might not be too much of a trouble. It depends how Eladea comes at him. There's some good flanking opportunities here. Again, both players know where the other one spawned. There is only one spawn for each player on this map, so no big surprises about where they need to go. And yeah, Eladea coming out around this outside here with his docks. He's going to try and pick off any Fabbers that he runs across as he comes down. And he's coming around the back as well. He's shutting off the escape routes. He's going to... yeah, he's having to bring his two Fabbers together. Indeed, this is almost as bad as having lost them, in that they are not actually doing anything at this point. Already, Yates looking very defensive, very much on the back foot here with that early build. For some reason, just oh no, he's gonna lose that second Fabber as well. Nasty loss for him there. Oh, got away. Eladea pulled out there. Poor choice though. I think he should have pushed that confrontation, taken out the Fabber, and he'd have controlled that back. There's nothing there to stop him. And indeed, we see Yates going for the spinner approach, bringing these spinners out. He's going to try and counter the air with that. Not sure how successful that's going to be. Oh, this Fabber may have come forward too early. Nope. no, Jaeger manages to push back, push those docks away. Faber is saved, but already Jaeger's really looking on the back foot here, really looking in trouble. Okay, both Jaeger's just sort of turtling up at the moment, just having to get enough tanks so he can actually push out, and I think this is going to give Eladir some very significant advantages. He's slowly starting to push out with his Faber. Went with their very heavy docks rush early on. I think once he controls this space, he's going to try and take the territory and move out quickly as possible. Okay, yep. We're seeing another Faber go down there to a bomber raid. Oh, this is bad for Jaeger. He's letting himself really get cut off here. Oh, there again. Yeah, he's sitting his fighters around the back there. He's checking away. He's checking on the expansion points. He's seeing if Jaeger has managed to break out of this contain, and thus far he hasn't. And we can see Jaeger stalling because he's trying to get up the production that he's going to need to play this game. And already an idle Faber as well. Surprisingly, you can see how contained he is. I think he's just waiting to find that this territory is safe. He's probably thinking there was some docks down here. Jaeger's trying to get his own scouting on, but now we see a significant dual laser turret getting placed down the centre here. Oh no, he's changed his mind. He's placing it slightly off centre. He's going to use that to try and stop any pushes by Jaeger, and then if he needs to make a more aggressive move with his commander early on, dual laser turret support is going to prove to be vital in that. And again, dual laser turret's going down everywhere now to really stop Jaeger ever trying to take that metal off him. Or at least if he does take it off him, at very unfavourable odds. So Jaeger's finally managing to get a Faber out the back here. Surprised he hadn't deployed tanks ahead of the Faber arriving, but still that's going to be essential metal to him as we see that Eladir has now taken twice the economy. Behind in factories though, he's committed a lot to this docks push, but on the other hand, Jaeger's operating at 43% efficiency, so in reality Jaeger's actually running almost less factories, even though he's actually got more in the field. The docks of Jaeger's now being picked off by this bomber. I think Jaeger's going to regret this. I think Jaeger's very much going to regret this no air. Yeah, he's very much going to regret this no air approach he's taken.
Not only no air, but vehicles as well. That means he's got very low mobility around the map. So he hasn't got the docks production.
I'm surprised to see with his commander pushes. Jaeger is now slowly pushing towards the centre. We see Eladir getting his commander nearby as well. But Jaeger's not supporting this push. I'd expected to see his tanks go up. He's clearly feeling very defensive. He doesn't feel he can spare any to move towards the centre. But he's incredibly exposed. I mean, with a turret there, he's going to have Jaeger will not have enough to hold that commander. And if he gets too deep, he's just going to be run down and lose the game before the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, I suspect what he'll do once he sees the turret is back off and maybe build some walls. Instead, he pushes on. Interesting. And the Uber Cannon, it doesn't do too much damage. Well, I would have expected a little bit more damage there. Deviating the control a little bit, but now he has the middle there because his commander's pushed up, and that's quite an aggressive force there. Eladir having to respond in kind as he moved his commander down from the North Pole, takes out a good Uber Cannon on those docks there, and he's got some vehicles to behind to back him up, as has Jaeger, but Jaeger also has the dreaded ratio of spinners there, so it's looking better for Eladir at the moment, getting a good bit of damage off as Jaeger falls below 70%. Walls going up for Eladir well.
Surprisingly, passive play by Eladir though. I was expecting him to make more of a contention for the centre, and Jaeger's having to make bold moves now because Jaeger realises he's losing this game. He has to take this territory or it's already all over. Eladir really giving him a few wins there that he didn't need to get, but even then, Jaeger's still not having enough to take that centre. Eladir just has a stride forward with his commander, and he can push Jaeger straight off because he's just got the better production. He's got more. He's got, well, actually, he has less troops now, but they're in a better position there. But we see Jaeger's now starting to make moves around the flanks. He's trying to take this territory back. Really, Eladir gave him a surprising amount of ground there. I would have expected him to support his turret better than that. That turret gave him a distinctive edge in a commander-on-commander confrontation, and he didn't make full use of it.
Yeah, that would have been better, but now we've got walls in the middle, so we've got a standoff there. A few tanks have managed to skirt around the side. They might do a little bit of harassment to the perimeter mechs there from Jaeger, although he is moving to respond. But We've also got a group of docks around the back there from Eladea, picking off any of Yates' straggling expansions. And a Fabricator there as well, alone, is going to get picked off, and he's not going to want to move in his docks just yet to try and defend against that, because they haven't got the numbers, and because his attention is probably focused elsewhere, so he will lose that Fabricator and the mechs.
I'm surprised to see that Eladea hasn't switched over to Boombox yet. With that exposed commander and his heavy tank presence, I think Boombox could be I think there was a window there where enough Boombox could have rushed in, he could have taken that commander and taken the game. Yea's trying to flank the walls there, clearly realising that wasn't going to work, turret on the side. And it's just the back foot. Eladea's got his docks. He's taken out all of the mechs that weren't tank defended on the back of the planet. And to see what Yates' options are at this point. He's just lost on every front. He was contained really early, hasn't managed to break out, and now Eladea's just going to grind him down with that economic advantage.
Economic and production advantage as well. I was going to say that with the way the walls were produced, there was an ability for tank spam to creep in around the side and do a bit of damage, but now that Eladea has that column of tanks there, that is not going to be an option. And if we look in the army tab there, mobile units starting to fall behind as well, and the factory count is just slashed in half compared to Eladea, so he really doesn't have the production, nor does he have the economy that Eladea has, although Eladea is inefficient a little bit. All the same, the factories are right at the middle there as well, so they don't have to wait in the pathing time to get there, and they can just be right on the front line at the moment they get off the slipway.
Yeah, I think Eladea immediately recognised that middle was going to be an essential part of this game, that he was going to have a presence there at all times, and indeed this is where this map has been decided so many times before.
And there's the GG.
Yeah, Yates, I think not a whole lot to see there apart from Yates. Eladea went for pretty much a rush strat, really. He went heavy docks, low fabbers, charged straight at Yates, who was going for perhaps a more traditional opening build, a long-term view to take at the centre, and Eladea just contained him and won the game, I think, almost in the first few minutes. But let's bring those players in. Let's bring in Eladea. Let's see what he thought of that. So Eladea, a rather convincing victory there, I think.
Yeah. I was lucky that he picked a small map because I had a rush build prepared for him.
Yes, I don't remember if did you play in the December Deadlock tournament? Did you encounter this map before?
No.
I was surprised to see. Yeah, I think Yates went for no air build, which was surprising because when he faced Matisse on this map back in December Deadlock, that ended up costing him the game, where the air was everywhere and he couldn't respond to it. And here it seems that he just was completely unprepared for you rushing him with docks.
Yeah. Well, that game, the air didn't do much for me, but the docks I was able to get a good timing in and then just kind of zone him out of the map and then just expand, and expand.
Yeah, we saw you circling his base with the docks early on, so I think the other strategy there was just to make sure he couldn't break out with those fabbers, keep an eye on the mechs points, and then just build up an economic lead to win the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
You built some factories close to the centre at one point, rather bringing your command forward and then building more factories, rather than building a line of factories towards the centre. I mean, what was the thinking there? Was it that essential to have troops that close to the middle?
It's because I was running out of metal, so instead of just building factories that I wouldn't have metal to use, I was just going to walk my commander somewhere useful. And that ended up being helpful because I knew that was a choke point that I needed to hold because he was most likely going to do a tank and commander push through there. So if I can get my commander there and put up some walls, I can counter it pretty easily.
Okay, so you've now beaten him on a large map and you've beaten him on a small map, so must be feeling pretty confident at this point.
Yeah, but he's seen my rush build now, so he should be able to counter it next time.
Okay, thank you for joining us. We're going to move you off now so you can prepare for the next game. I'm going to bring Yates in here. Yates! 0-2 at the moment. How are you feeling?
Yeah, obviously not that great.
So, went for a rather different approach this time, going for a very small map as opposed to the larger map you chose. What was your game plan there?
Yeah, it was kind of a dumb choice, I think, but my goal was to just kind of focus on vehicles and then hopefully have him waste money on air, but pressured me pretty early with the bots. I think his opening is just better than mine. I don't really have a good opening that I like right now in this.
Yeah, it feels that while the game went on for about 11 minutes, you sort of lost it in the first few minutes where he just completely contained you within your base and gave you an opportunity to break out.
Yeah, which is really not how you're supposed to win with the strategy I was going for. Really, I just want to have like an early tank push that he just can't hold effectively with docks. But yeah, my openings. I don't know what they are in this.
Well, in this, you've played on this map once before. I mean, this was a few patches ago, back in the days of back last December. You played this one against Matisse, where he beat you with air versus your rather ineffective spinners. I mean, did your experience on this map influence your choice of build here, or were you just going for something standard that you thought you could handle?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought I could kind of do the same thing against Matisse, except this time, the air was a lot weaker than it was when I faced him. So I thought, my strategy would work out pretty well. But yeah, my opening, I just don't really like it. I haven't actually had time to find a good like economic opening, or I have like the same amount of units and everything. Yeah, he just had way more stuff than I did. Beginning.
Okay, well, going into to game 3, how you feeling? Do you think you've got something up your sleeve now? Do you think you've got enough? You've seen his rush build, you've seen his big build. Do you think you can take him in game 3?
We'll see. Just have to rely on my multitasking, which is very great right now. I just need to like get to a point in the game where like I have a lot of units and then I'm very comfortable.
You think you're going to beat him if it becomes a big enough macro game? You think you can take him?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can take his multitasking.
Okay, well, good. Oh, sorry, yes.
Yep, that's it. All for me.
Okay, well, thanks for speaking to us, Yates. We'll let you get the next one set up, and we're going to bring our analysts in here to talk to them. Let's bring in Matisse. We'll bring in Klops. Hello, guys.
Oh, hey, how are you?
So, a fairly convincing win for Aladea there, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. That was beautiful analysis. Glad to have you here, lad. That's
Yes,
ex-king of the planet Matisse and co-founder of PA Gods Klops there, bringing some high-level analysis to the field. Alright, so Matisse, you've played on this map before. I think I've said that a couple of times now. You played on this. You beat Yates on this back in December deadlock. What did you think about his performance there?
Yeah, well, I think Elodia just rushed him really well and contained him in base and then got economy advantage and the game was pretty much over. I think I'm not sure about bots on this map or bots in general as a rush strategy, but I'm wondering what would happen if he didn't go for first bot factory and then vehicle factories, but just double vehicle factory right off the bat, and then he would have enough tanks to fend off the harassment from Elodia, and maybe then he would be able to eventually get a big tank count and then get the middle and then if he gets the middle he also gets quite a lot of metal, and that's enough to sustain quite a nice tank production, and maybe this way he would manage to beat that strategy from Elodia. And nonetheless, it was really well played from Elodia, and I think such rush on such map is really good, and as always Elodia impressing me with his play.
Well, Klops, we saw Elodia shut down Yates pretty early on with that bot rush. Do you think there was anything Yates could have done about that? Was it simply the build that he chose left him vulnerable to that, or was there some play he could have made to help himself out of that hole?
Yeah, it's quite difficult. I think he needed to realise that what Elodia was doing, and just not. He kept trying to build fabbers all the time, and kept trying to expand it to fabbers, and that could have. If he built tanks instead, he could have, or more units, he could have pretty crawled back. But it's hard to think like that on your feet. You're right. He just he has no idea. We could see what Elodia, what his income was, and you're actually at the same income, even though Elodia just was putting so much pressure on him. So if he knew what eco Elodia had, then he wouldn't know what kind of build he had.